All right, welcome in. We are previewing the Patriots and the Packers. The game is Sunday, 4:25 in Green Bay. Taylor Kyles, Patriots analyst for CLNS Media, works also over at Next Gen Stats. John Zannis. Big story, Mac Jones officially ruled out. Oh my God, surprise. I never saw that coming. Oh, we saw him on the practice field Friday, and, people were texting, he's going to try to play. Nice try, Bill. This is never going to happen. We knew Mac Jones was going to be out. The hope here, Taylor, is that, again, by all accounts, he suffered a pretty significant ankle injury. Whether he can return to play soon, we'll see. I'm more concerned of an IR stint than I was thinking there was any likelihood he was playing in Green Bay. How tough would it be for the Patriots if he is out an extended period, or how difficult will it be if he does come back, say, a week from now, but is extremely limited?
Absolutely. I think if he misses significant time, then I don't want to say lost season, but you put yourself in a much worse position than you already have, like you said, with that 1-3 record. I do think they have the advantage of having arguably the league's best rushing attack. They've also got a very competitive defense, so I don't think will ever be the reason they're losing games. So I think that Hoyer really just needs to steady the ship. I believe that he understands the system and his role enough to do that. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to be super optimistic about the likelihood of them, putting together a handful of wins if he misses a lot of time. So you just got to hope that, Hoyer avoids the mistakes, can at least use that veteran presence to keep them on schedule and avoid the negative plays that we've seen plague them for the past 3 weeks, and just keep them competitive. He can put the drives together. I'm confident that he can do that. It's just avoiding the negative plays.
Yeah. So again, we know it for a fact here. Mac Jones is out. It is Brian Hoyer's show. So again, what kind of offense and how do you think the Patriots are going to play it with Hoyer here? And can they be successful against the Green Bay Packers?
So one thing to keep in mind is that Brian Hoyer had another guy who wore the number 1 jersey who he tended to throw downfield to quite a bit when he did see some action. That was N'Keal Harry. And actually, N'Keal Harry had some of his best career grabs, ironically, from Brian Hoyer. But you did see there were flashes of Hoyer was okay with throwing it downfield and trying to give his big bodies chances to make plays. I think we could see some of that, especially with the Patriots philosophically seeming to be wanting to be more of a downfield passing offense. I think they know they're going to have to compete with the Bills 2, possibly 3 times a year for a very long time. And those are shootouts. You want to understand, okay, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Can we get downfield? How are we doing it? What are we doing well? At the same time, that's also because Mac is an underrated downfield passer. Now, he's been locked on to Devontae Parker a little bit too much this year. That's very obvious, just making some boneheaded throws. The thing is, and it's very frustrating, a lot of the throws are on the money. If there was no defender there, it would have been a beautiful completion. But obviously that's not the case. So I think part of it was the Patriots saying, we've seen Mac Jones be the most productive downfield passer in college. Sure, he had a lot of weapons, but you still got to get the ball there. We saw yesterday, with Tua throwing it downfield to Tyreek on that interception. It's sure, you can have a speedster. Just because you have good players doesn't mean that you necessarily have the skill set to exploit it all the time. Mac has been very good throwing downfield. Yeah. We haven't seen these bad underthrows or anything. It's just he has some poor decision-making. And then there's also times where there was an overthrow to Aguilar, but that was kind of an anomaly because then the next week he came back and had the long touchdown. But with Devontae, it's mostly just been knowing when to uncork that. You don't really want to throw to him against Xavier Howard. It's just not really, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Right.
That was obviously a play that kind of ended in the worst case scenario, of course. But now going back to Brian Hoyer, I could see them scaling back the downfield passing attack because that's not what Brian Hoyer does. Will he? Absolutely. He's an NFL quarterback with plenty of experience. He knows his strengths and weaknesses. But what you saw a lot of from him when he was getting action, 2020 against the Chiefs, which was, not a memorable game for Hoyer. He had a couple really bad decisions in the red zone, took a sack with no timeouts to end the half, which was really, really bad in a tight game when you needed even a field goal. And then he ended up getting benched when he fumbled in the red zone later in the third quarter. So, he's also said that he's grown from that game. So you're thinking, okay, Brian Hoyer.
He's grown older.
Right. He's older, but he said that game haunts him. So I'm hoping he will just be smarter in those situations. That's all I mean by that, because he's got the experience. Those was boneheaded plays. But then in terms of consistency, he loves slants. There is no route he threw more than the slants and short in breakers. I think we could see a lot of those. The Patriots especially have a lot of those guys who are bigger bodies or at least very good contested catch guys. Kendrick Bourne had.
So I'm wondering,
Bourne, Brian Hoyer last year.
Bourne, possibly the tight ends. There are some people who have been less involved where I think could benefit here.
Absolutely. I think Devontae Parker is going to be a guy he may also lock in on. But also Devontae Parker is a guy who's thrived running slants as well. It's something that Mac didn't throw a single time this year. He's very good at it. It's just something, the Patriots are trying to go deeper downfield. It's basically been goes, crossers, kind of downfield things to give players chances to get a lot of yards. Yep. So I think that with Hoyer, we'll see more of that methodical kind of Brady type offense that we've seen traditionally from the Patriots, which could, work in their favor. They definitely have the talent to be able to put these drives together. We see it. Like, it doesn't look like a talent problem when you're watching the Patriots offense. They're statistically one of the more productive teams in the league. They just aren't finishing. They're making mental mistakes. They're turning the ball over. And hopefully a veteran like Hoyer, not that Mac can't do that, but hopefully someone like Hoyer can help kind of steady the ship in his absence of like, all right, guys, don't get on our own way. Obviously they're going to lean heavily on the ground game and really just give Hoyer shots when he needs to, maybe throw in some easy throws for him here and there when he gets the right looks. But yeah, I think we're going to see less of the downfield passing attack, but possibly more consistency with them just trying to more dink and dunk and just try to put drives together.
Yep. Well said. And again, I do think they are going to try to do some stuff with Hoyer. And I would agree, maybe some of the downfield stuff doesn't, but you're right. Almost like old Patriots offense, so to speak, get the ball out quick, get it in people's hands, get them running underneath and see if they can get some yak there. Take a quick pause, tell you briefly about one of our sponsors, Athletic Greens. It's a product that I use literally every day. Taylor, I don't know if you've tried it yet, but I'd like to get you some if you haven't.
Thank you.
It's good stuff. What is it? One delicious scoop of AG1 every day. You're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics to help you start your day right. Special blend of ingredients supports gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things that you're probably spending I don't know how many, several dollars a day, trying to piecemeal it together with a bunch of different products. One-stop shopping here with AG1, like we said, just one scoop in a cup of water, lifestyle friendly, regardless of what diet you're on, it works. Keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, virtually no sugar, no GMOs, supports better sleep quality and recovery, clarity and alertness, all sorts of things. The price, $3 a day. Again, it's less than a bottle of kombucha, which I'm sure you're drinking, for your probiotic health or whatnot.
I'm in LA. It's kombucha and taco trucks for me. So this sounds pretty perfect.
Bingo. Right. 7,000 5-star reviews, professional athletes, health experts, celebrities, all recommended. So right now is the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. And as I said, no need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/garden, athleticgreens.com/garden to take ownership of your health. And again, this is a sponsor of ours on the Garden Report. For all of you Celtics fans out there, obviously you can check that out. The first preseason game is Sunday, a terrific appetizer at 1:00 heading into the 4:25 Pats game. Taylor, we talked about Brian Hoyer, what we expect from the Pats offense. Naturally, one thing that you think is going to happen is Patriots might lean a little bit more heavily on their run game. They got some things going. Ramondre Stevenson appeared to kind of take the lead a little bit. Maybe could be game script dependent. He is the third down back with Ty Montgomery still on IR. And, he was out there, but I think he outsnapped Harris, 60-something% to 30-something% in this game. And this is a game where, again, if you're looking at Hoyer, you might be looking for a few more checkdowns, hit the backside of the backfield, where I could see Stevenson really play a big role in here. I think Harris as well. The other thing to consider is Green Bay's run defense has been suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually took a look at the run defense for the Packers this morning. Biggest thing for them is Kenny Clark, number 97, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. He's fantastic. Outside of him, there hasn't been a lot of consistency, and honestly, that's being kind of nice. There's guys like Number 94, Dean Lowry. He's one of their other interior defensive linemen. Preston Smith, number 91. He's a very good edge rusher, but they're not consistent against the run. What you're seeing a lot of is offensive line just, so what the Packers do is they typically have 3 interior defensive linemen and 2 outside linebackers. What you see a lot of is a lot of these man schemes, a lot of the power schemes, things the Patriots are pretty good at. A lot of those gap concepts where it's downhill and you're taking the fight to these guys. They haven't really been able to stand their ground and really be formidable against teams that decide to attack the players on their in their interior line rotation that aren't quite as stout as a Kenny Clark. So I think the Patriots are going to be able to exploit that. New England's been running a lot of inside zone. That was something they would run maybe once or twice a game in years past. Now we're seeing it as like one of the lion's share of carries, more than outside zone, which, got all the hype in the preseason. But, sometimes you just have to adapt and see what your guys do well. And their best players are on the inside. You got the first round pick, you got Mike Onwenu, and you got David Andrews, who's as solid as they come and knows what he's doing. So I think we're going to see a lot of them trying to exploit that interior. And then at the second level, this is where I think Ramondre Stevenson and Harris are going to have big games. They got great contact balance. They're tough guys to bring down. They finish. And Devondre Campbell, excellent coverage linebacker, not a great tackler against the run, not a guy who's going to consistently get off blocks. And then Quay Walker, who was the Packers' first-round pick, is a very talented player, but he's still kind of figuring it out in that respect as well. Very talented team. They're not, they're going to make their plays, but I think the Patriots are going to be able to run the ball pretty well because the interior just doesn't hold up consistently. And at the second level, they don't tackle, and that's going to lead to some big plays.
Flip side, how's Bill Belichick going to defend Aaron Rodgers? Again, this isn't a person that you see very often. Last time in 2018, I believe. Is that right? Anything you can draw from that matchup to look forward to how you think that they might defend him? Again, this is a Packers team that is right now lacking in big play guys or outside weapons like they've had in the past. Rodgers is definitely not pressing the ball downfield as much as he normally would. It's a more of a conservative offense. So not necessarily direct parallels to teams of old, but Rodgers is Rodgers and he can make stuff happen. What do you think the Patriots are going to throw at him?
I actually thought we saw a preview of it last week against Lamar Jackson. I think Belichick understands that Lamar is not just the scrambler in the 7 plays. That's not all he does. Jackson is getting closer to the tier of an Aaron Rodgers, where they're fantastic athletes, but they're passers first, and that they can pick you apart if you're in zone a lot, and they can also extend plays and make big things happen if you let them slip out of the pocket, and they can buy time inside as well. So what the Patriots did last week, you saw them get killed by Mark Andrews at the beginning of the game. The guy was catching passes left and right, and a lot of it was because the Patriots are playing zone coverage. Now, against smart quarterbacks, they can shred zone to pieces because defenders are reading the passer, and if the quarterback understands that, they're going to look elsewhere to open up throwing lanes and manipulate the defense. So what Belichick did last week after Andrews had that one drive, I feel like he had 4 or 5 catches, and I believe he scored on the shovel pass, was Belichick said, we're manning you guys up. We're not letting you do this anymore. Like, Mark Andrews is too smart. Lamar Jackson's too smart. Their connection is too good. And I think Rodgers has that. It's not quite as potent. He's got Randall Cobb. He's got Allen Lazard. They're not game wreckers. They're not really people that are probably going to decide the game. Lazard may be more in that vein, but I think he's kind of a one-dimensional player. He really thrives on slant routes and then the occasional slot fade. So I think they're going to say, hey, Rodgers will kill us if we decide to just play cover 3. We're going to man you up, and we're going to force the receivers to beat us. Now, the Patriots have played more 2 deep coverages this year for sure. I think a lot of that's been in anticipation of all these teams that like to go downfield off play action. So a lot of times when you see those condensed looks where they tend to have the deep route to clear out coverage and then an underneath route to get right underneath and give guys a chance in space. Now, they tend to play 2 high coverages against that just to stop the big play. But besides that, they're still very much a man defense. So I think we're going to see a lot of man coverage. What we saw a lot of in the 2018 matchup that the Patriots don't do a lot, but will do maybe once or twice a year against very good passers is we saw a lot of brackets, like cover 1 double, both safeties with their eyes on slot receivers or a tight end. In that matchup, it was Devontae Adams, obviously. Jimmy Graham in some situations because he was a red zone threat and also just a big body when they really needed to move the ball in critical situations. And even Randall Cobb, because they've been together for so long. Is Randall Cobb physically impressive at this point in his career? Not really, but they know each other so well. And Cobb is such a smart player that he's going to have a couple plays, and you just kind of got to accept it. So, yeah, I think maybe in some situations we'll see a little extra attention paid to the guys that Rodgers trusts. Romeo Doubs has also been pretty impressive. He's been their best receiver, I think, personally, in terms of looking at him and saying, okay, this is somebody that you may want to, you can't let this guy beat you because he is talented and I think he can beat you in a few different ways, although he is a rookie and he and Rodgers are still trying to get on the same page. So, lock him down and man, make sure the pass rush gets pressure and forces Rodgers to either try to scramble to make plays, you bring him down, or make him throw into tight windows and force the rookies and, some of the older heads to make plays.
I don't know whether you're a gambling man, Tyler, but we're gonna Taylor, we're gonna hold you to it here. With the game being a Brian Hoyer game, the Patriots are massive underdogs, more so than you ever really see a Belichick team. You never see a Belichick team -9. The Packers are favored by 9 points over the Patriots with an over-under of 40.5. So they're expecting a big Packers win and the Patriots barely to put up any points. Not a lot of respect being given to a Brian Hoyer-led Patriots offense. I think this is a sneaky Pats bet here, and I think everybody's going heavy Green Bay. But personally, I like the Pats to cover here. I like the Pats to keep it close. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. I think the defense is more than well equipped to at least make it tough on Rodgers. We saw it last week against the Ravens. Like Lamar Jackson had some plays where you just sit back and you're like, all right, that's an MVP. He's going to have his plays, the touchdown against Miles Bryant, on the fade, the back of the end zone. The throw to Mark Andrews where he was drifting back against cover zero, just lofts it up and lets his guy make a play. Yes, these guys are going to make some magical things happen, but the Patriots are talented. They got a good front. They have a very solid secondary. Jonathan Jones is playing some great football. He's been one of their best corners really since he got there as a rookie. And you really saw it last week with two phenomenal plays where he had no business really getting the ball from the Ravens, but he still managed to come off his assignment to get the interception and then just stole the ball from Rashad Bateman. He's a tough SOB. Jalen Mills has been solid as not their number one corner, but the guy who takes more of the bigger matchups outside. And then Miles Bryant, obviously not horribly physically impressive, but he hasn't been exploited yet. He hasn't put a lot of bad tape out there. He's been doing his job for the most part. So I trust the secondary to at least make life hard on the receivers. And I think the front is going to get after Rodgers. I think Barrymore is going to have a good game. I think Judon's going to do well. And also those two and Wise, they've been very good this season. So I think also Packers have a great offensive line. I don't want to take any credit away from them, but it's strength against strength, which is going to be interesting. But on offense, we've seen that the Patriots can move the ball. It's really, that's not the issue for them. It's, are you going to get penalized so that
and finish some drives? Yeah,
exactly. It's like when you turn in 2nd and 4 into 2nd and 9, and then, it's an incompletion. Crap. Now you're in 3rd and 9, and that's not what you're built to do. Most teams aren't. It's a very tough situation.
It's what the Patriots used to do to other teams, which was, I dare you to nickel and dime us all the way down the field and put together perfect drives without shooting yourselves in the foot. And more often than not, teams would not be able to do that. Elite offenses would, elite quarterbacks would, but most would not. The Patriots are now kind of doing that to themselves, where they're having a difficult time stringing together those drives.
Absolutely. Like Mike Lombardi said it. He said, this isn't a team they don't lack talent. They don't lack potential, but you have to put it on the field. You got to put it on the tape. And even Brian Hoyer, he's the guy who can drive the ball. That's not really what I'm worried about. It's just keep these guys on schedule, no silly turnovers. And again, I think Mac I don't think Hoyer's going to be the kind of guy that throws into bad looks the way that Mac has been doing, which has really kind of shot them in the foot. There's also been the miscommunications, like with Devontae Parker, where to me, it looked like he thought he was running. There was a clear miscommunication that he acknowledged after the game on the interception for Marlon Humphrey, where it looked like he thought he was setting a pick for the running back, and Mac throws it up in the air, and Humphrey's the first one who finds the ball, and he's in a dominant position. So things like that, I hope we won't see under Brian Hoyer, but I think he's smart enough to know, like, I got to do my job. This is not my show. I'm trying to keep this train on track and make sure that I'm putting the team in the best position.
And that's the thing, the double-edged sword regarding both Mac Jones' play, both in terms of, I mean, largely from what the fans want to see is, oh, we're a nickel and dime offense. We got to try to make some plays downfield. So he starts to make some plays downfield, and some of them result in some turnovers. And now all of a sudden, Mac Jones, who's Mr. Accuracy, Mr. Poise, Mr. Ball Protection, is now turning the ball over, and it's kind of, it's cost the Patriots a lot in these games here. Dating back to the bye last week, I believe it's 18 turnovers over 8 games, a 2-6 record. When the Patriots really, the wheels came off the wagon from the bye week on last year with Mac Jones, and I think they've only caused 8. So that kind of turnover differential is going to result in a 2-6 record, and that's kind of what they've been over their past 8 games here. So yeah, you're right. You would have needed Mac to tone it down. At this point, Hoyer's number one job has to be just take care of the football, play it safe, take what the defense gives you, and move on from there. And I think that's what they're likely going to do here. Lastly, number one story in all of football, Taylor, which is there's a lot of angles to this, and it's really difficult to know exactly what's going on. But obviously, you have Tua Tagovailoa getting what appeared to be badly concussed on a Thursday night game, 5 days after he looked like he took a headshot and was wobbly, labeled with a back injury. That was a game against Buffalo. And again, to the naked eye, it's really hard to think that somebody who was woozy and hard to keep his feet and grabbing at his head and shaking his head, never once grabbing at his back, had a back injury. But again, where we're stuck here is an independent neurologist supposedly cleared Tua of any concussion symptoms. And he was allowed to play, and then unfortunately suffered another vicious hit and potentially could have suffered two brain injuries 5 days apart, which we all know is terrible for people's long-term prospects. When you factor in CTE and all of these things, it's really what you try to avoid more than anything is those back-to-back brain injuries. Again, we don't know what happened. Maybe he wasn't, but just to the naked eye and the look here, there's really some concern over player safety, whether protocols were followed, and hopefully everything's okay with Tua, but just your overall assessment of the situation, both in terms of what happened last Sunday and then what happened on Thursday night.
It's disappointing, man. It's very, very disappointing, especially when you think of the eye test. I remember I wasn't even covering that game. I glanced over when Tua got hurt. I was like, oh God, he's going to be out for the rest of the game. That was against the Bills because it was very clear that he was not okay. And I thought it was kind of discouraging. I like Mike McDaniel as a coach, and he seems like a great person, but I thought it felt disingenuous for him to say that Tua initially, from the eye test, it didn't look like he was concussed against the Bills because, again, he couldn't walk. He was grabbing his head. I don't know what else a guy has to do short of like throwing up on the field for you to be like, oh, this is a head thing. And then I feel like they just kind of put themselves in a bad position where, okay, now if you haven't played an entire second half of football after everybody saw that, if he's not practicing, if he enters concussion protocol during the week, what does that say? Then it turns into a weird situation for the Dolphins where they need to explain why this player is in concussion protocol or not practicing after he was playing an entire half when he clearly had something wrong. So I think they just put themselves in a bad position. And then in the game, it was horrific. Honestly, like I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Hard to watch.
Horrible. It's disappointing, and I don't know who responsibility falls to. I don't want to point fingers at this person, that person. I don't know how that works. That's not my jurisdiction, any of those things. But it's got to do better. It's really that much. Like I don't think it's that we need to revamp necessarily the protocol. It's follow the protocol. We already went through this whole scenario where we recommitted to protecting players and trying to reduce head injuries. And I do think that is a sincere effort, but it needs to be carried out every single time because these are people's brains we're talking about. It sucks if you have a lower body injury and you can't walk the right way for the rest of your life. It's a completely different thing when your brain isn't working the same way. So again, I think the league is making a very sincere effort to try to reduce these and make sure that players are taken care of. But these independent specialists or anybody who's consulting with them and the people around them as well need to be protecting them. And I think it also needs to be emphasized for players that if you think this is happening, these people are mentally, we can't relate. I remember being like, I don't know how you play. I couldn't watch the rest of the game. I don't know how you play the rest of the game after watching your brother experience something like that. Or even Tua wanting to go back in after he knew he couldn't walk. I can't relate to that.
They looked shook, understandably.
But like, that's the thing. You have to protect yourself, and the people around you have to protect you from yourself as well. So, I mean, that's what it is. Like, the system is in place, but it needs to be executed consistently, because we can't have things like that happen. I remember I wrote a report that said it could have ended his entire career. And obviously that's like the minimum, because it could have turned into something that he deals with his entire life. And
there's a lot of things you look at. You talk about, okay, a spotter missed the wobbliness and he was allowed to return in that game on Sunday. Well, you know what? Change the protocol more than just a couple of spotters who might have been getting a hot dog at the time, and just say, okay, there's somebody back watching video who's going to get word to people and say, yo, that doesn't look right. You can't put him back in there, and don't let him back in that game. And if you want to talk about other things that you can do, is make the protocol mandatory. If you suffer a concussion 1 week, you must miss the next week's game. That's it. And then you take it out of people's hands about clearing protocol. Well, he was fine on Friday, and I don't know on Saturday, because you've seen that people kind of take step one towards it. Maybe you just take it out of their hands and say, we don't even start the clock on the protocol until a full week has passed and you've missed a game. Maybe there's other things that you can do to avoid the temptation to try to rush back a little bit early.
Yeah, and again, like I'm not nearly well versed enough or educated enough in this field. I don't want to talk out of my neck. Yep. But I mean, the bottom line.
The other solution is ban. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we can all agree. Just protect these people, especially in situations where it's this obvious.
Yeah,
like it's not really that complicated. If someone can't walk and is grabbing their head, take that seriously.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we will wrap it up. Once again, this is Taylor Kyles, terrific analyst with CLNS Media, breaking down film for Pats games and other NFL film as well. And also, of course, working for Next Gen Stats for the NFL. And this is a man on the rise here. So if you don't already, make sure you follow Taylor Kyles on Twitter. And you can check out his stuff on clnsmedia.com. As well as a million other places. And Taylor, you can self-promote here yourself if you like.
I'll just go with a Twitter at TKYLES39. That's where I spend way too much of my time. So
a lot of
that's where you can find a lot of stuff. Yeah.
He's got takes, he's got opinions, he's got analysis. It's all good stuff. So again, Taylor, thanks a lot. Make sure you check out CLNS Media after the game, post-game show following the Patriots and the Packers. And of course, support our sponsor, Athletic Greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/garden. One-stop shopping for your health here. One scoop, 75 vitamins and a cup of water. Take care of all of your health needs. athleticgreens.com/garden will send you 5 free travel packs and a year supply of vitamin D. So make sure you check that out. For Taylor Kyles, I'm John Zannis. Take care.